What's going on, everybody? I am Winston A. Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blurred, and this is my episode 3 spoiler review of X-Men 97. That's right, I'm talking about the show that's taken over the world. No, but real talk, I am so happy to be back with you guys. If you haven't already, please be sure to go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when I got videos coming out. I'm sorry that this one's a little later in the day. I'm a little under the weather, and so when I tried to stay up at midnight to do this, I couldn't, and then I had to get up and go to work. Don't worry, I stayed away from everybody. I was, wearing a mask and washing my hands and stuff. But either way, I just got a chance to sit down and record this. So I want to just jump into it. Now, reminder, this is a spoiler conversation. So I'm going to go kind of through the story and talk about some stuff that I saw happening. And then I want to get your feedback. I want to know what you're thinking about the show and what you're thinking about the episode. Now, if you remember the cliffhanger that we started off with, we had Jean show up at the door at the end of episode 2, and the whole team is confused because Jean just had this baby, is standing over here, and we end up seeing this Jean that immediately faints, which made a lot of fans. This had me laughing, bro. People were like, wait, that Jean fainted? That's the real Jean. Because if you go watch X-Men, the animated series, there are 2 factors. Jean is always fainting.
Jean.
And Professor X is always screaming.
The Phoenix with the power of
for no reason other than to just scream because he's getting his ass whooped by something. But either way, the team is trying to figure it out. Beast does some work real quick to check, and it turns out that the Jean at the door is the real Jean based upon carbon dating and gamma rays and all that stuff. And the Jean we've been hanging with so far gets super pissed off, as anybody would if you're like, you're not the real one. It even looks at Scott. Scott, and Scott's just like, I'm holding Nathan. So either way, man, eventually she goes to hang with the baby. She gets kind of upset. She starts to hear over the baby monitor something weird, and it turns out that Mr. Sinister has shown up, and that he admits that I'm your dad. He essentially says, I'm your guess who's your daddy, and made this Jean. And so in doing so, then activates essentially one of those gems that he implanted in her to turn her evil. And then we get what was actually a really cool homage. I caught it. I don't know if everybody did, but it felt like a dark homage to Sailor Moon. You got a full kind of transformation of, her nails changing and her power set changing and her hair changing, and then her cape flapping out. It 1000% reminded me of a Sailor Moon like anime girl transformation. Now, as this happens, and Jean, is now the Goblin Queen, as you see here, and this is from later in the episode, but this is her new look here. The team is all in different places, and they're starting to see things and freak out. I'm sure a lot of you saw this trailer that was released a little while ago.
Oh dear. I think one of us has the wrong floor.
Downstairs, now!
What the heck is going on? Haven't you figured it out? We're in hell.
As they are all freaking out, they're trying to figure out what's going on, and it very quickly, Scott is the one to figure out that the only one that could do this would be Jean. Gambit sees Rogue and Magneto all boot up and they morph into a monster. A monster movie that Sunspot and Jubilee are watching comes out and tries to kill him, and the monster turns into Sunspot's mom, calling him a freak and all sorts of stuff. Just absolute ridiculousness, including Morph, who's playing games in the shower, only for Sinister to be there and to be messing with him again. But again, this is Jean doing this. And so then the team all meets up together, and they end up descending into Dante's Inferno, more or less, as Beast calls it.
While I share Sinister's apparent affection for Dante's Inferno, I must ask how he's exerting this much power over our perceptions of reality.
And it was really interesting to watch them again use certain combo moves. Bishop calling out real quick for a boost from Cyclops, getting that, hitting everybody, and then them both going, "You're welcome," which I thought was very funny, the arrogance of who actually took the other down, or took the main monsters down. And then from that point forward, man, they regroup and they realize, okay, that clone Jean took Nathan. She's crazy. We gotta go stop her. So a team goes to fight him, and the team consists of Magneto, Cyclops, Bishop, and Morph. The remainder stayed with the rest for the wounded and to make sure that they're okay, and to hold the fort and to keep an eye on the other Jean. And as this fight goes on, Goblin Queen is kind of whooping butt, but then our Jean wakes up out of whatever little faint coma she's in. Faint coma. And she ultimately takes on the Goblin Queen in the astral plane. They're going back and forth. They're reliving through memories, including how the powers manifested and what they've been doing this whole time. And the thing that locks the Goblin Queen and helps break out of the spell that Jean helps her see is the birth of Nathan, the birth of who will one day grow up to be Cable. And so with that snaps her out of it, and she goes with Cyclops to go and stop Sinister. And Sinister's chilling. He has put Nathan into a vat that is actually infecting him with the Techno-Organic virus. So now we know where that specifically was coming from. For those that know just from the animated series, we know that Cable has a Techno-Organic virus. For those of you that are old school stands, you know that's exactly why they sent him to the future. He was raised without his parents, is because they did not have the technology to keep him there. And we'll get to that part in a little bit. But they go and fight Sinister. They're able to kind of, knock him back and all that kind of stuff. And Sinister runs. But again, poor Nate has been infected. There's nothing that can be done. So Beast goes, hey, I can't do anything here, but maybe the future can. And so Bishop is like, I only got to charge for 2 people. So I can take me and Nathan, but I can't bring the parents. And Scott actually is like, I can't do this. I was abandoned by my dad. And for those that don't remember, his dad is Corsair, who left with the Starjammers. And so he's like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be the one that abandons my son. So he bounces, which is kind of funny because if you think about it, he's technically abandoning his son by not abandoning his son. But I don't think that, that Psyche really thought about that very, very clearly. So either way, Jean says goodbye to the clone Jean. Our Jean decides to stay. And I also notice when she decides to join the team and get busy and use her powers, she ties her hair up in the standard ponytail that she's used all throughout X-Men the Animated Series, except for when she's the Phoenix. And that actually was the clue that the Jean we were seeing wasn't necessarily our Jean, because her hair was always down for these first 2 episodes. And that was kind of the little tip that I didn't catch until actually my second watch through of the episode. I was like, oh my God, they tipped their hat to it the whole time. They have a conversation, and the clone Jean is like, you know what, call me Madeline Pryor. And again, for those in the comics, you're very familiar that Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, all this is all canon as far as that goes, and we got that storyline. And the last thing that we get to see is not really a post-credit scene, but it kind of is, of Storm in a bar. She's got on her mohawk, leather outfit and everything. And a man comes up, and we recognize the voice, and it's Forge, and he's like, hey, I might be able to help solve your problem. And that's where we leave off, man. And again, I cannot say enough good about this show. That the voice acting is absolutely incredible. The animation is incredible. And again, we're talking about all sorts of stuff, both comic related, but then real life, which is why, again, I don't understand when people say, oh, the X-Men are woke now. They've always been quote unquote woke. It's not how the term is used. My point is, they have always kind of tackled things. In this particular case, this isn't something that we're dealing with in real life as far as dealing with clones and who's a real person. I mean, maybe they are. I don't know. I mean, Clone Tyrone seemed pretty damn realistic. But either way, the idea of what really makes you, what makes you truly yourself. You also have this conflict, and I think probably the one that sticks out to me in particular is you look at Cyclops and this idea of him being an orphan, him being fatherless and feeling abandoned by his dad, especially when he found out his dad was alive. and he never came back for him. And this idea of, okay, do I save my son, and in which case I have to abandon him, or do I just live it out with him as is, and that horrible pain of what it means to have to give up a child. And there are a number of different reasons why that may happen in real life, and in this case it's because there's been an infection of your blood. So all that being said, I gotta give this episode, I'll probably give this a 4 out of 5. If I didn't do this for the other ones, I would say episode 1 for me was definitely also a 4, but episode 2 for me was a 5. I think the Storm dealing with her issues and losing her powers, I think Magneto, giving that masterclass of a speech of what it means to have resilience and strength and essentially what anybody that's ever been oppressed has had to deal with, and the idea of you have to show mercy to these bigots at times. And the same thing was true with Cyclops when he's getting his ass whooped by the Executioner. I know now I'm talking about episode 2. He thinks taking off his visor is actually weakening him, but what he doesn't realize is that Scott is showing so much restraint, because if he opens his eyes, the dude is probably dead. Like, that armor was able to take some of that stuff. Scott's full power beam would have probably killed him and a number of people. It literally was taking Scott's restraint to protect the dude that is attacking him. And that is something that a lot of times people that are oppressed, that's what happens, is you have to show restraint. If someone's out here slinging the N-word at me left and right, if they're out here being like, oh, yeah, DEI, then me not whooping your ass is restraint. And so that's why that episode hits a 5 for me, because it hit on so many different levels. But this one is solid 4, giving us more lore that I love. But I want to know what you think specifically. What are you feeling about episode 3, the Goblin Queen? We finally get Sinister, the origin story of Cable, because the first time we saw him in the animated series was the Genosha episode, where he's working as a mercenary and then decided to take out the leader. It's a whole thing. I'm simultaneously doing my rewatch of the animated series, the OG. But tell me what you think. Throw it on a comment, throw a like on this, man. Now, again, if you haven't already, so make sure you subscribe to this channel so you are here for all the content that I'm putting out. I will be on Capes and Cowls this Friday. You're seeing this Wednesday night, Thursday morning. I'll be on Capes and Cowls this Friday, so don't miss that. I'm sure we'll talk more X-Men 97 over there, as well as any other stories. And then go follow me on all the socials, man, at the Swaggy Blurred. I got fun content. I'm putting out I've kind of made Breakfast AM News now like a monthly wrap up, mainly because I'm really tired. So I can only really kind of do it once a month, but be sure to go check that out. I do a monthly recap of some of the best stuff and craziest stories of the month. All right, y'all. With that, I'm going to get out of here. I will see you next week. I'll be here before then, but I will see you next week specifically for more X-Men 97 coverage. And until then, y'all stay safe, y'all. Peace.